Alright, for this I'm going to show you how to steal a design from an existing business card. So to start off with, I'm just going to make a new document in InDesign. Make sure when you do this that you change at the upper right here from picas to inches. That's going to help a lot when you start putting in some measurements. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in my example. I just pasted this in here. I'm not worried about placing it. But to make a specific sized business card, I'm going to get the rectangle tool and then just click with it. This lets you just type in your measurements so you can have a very specific size, and then I'm going to turn on my stroke color. So I want to make this the same size, and we've talked about this before, but remember you need to hold down Shift and Control at the same time when you're resizing something. So I'm going to lock this layer and make a new layer on top, just like anything else that we steal. And I'm going to make my type tool. I type box right on top of this, just click and drag right over this man's first and last name. And now I'm just going to type my name right on top of it. Now of course this isn't the right font, it's not the right size, there's a lot of stuff I need to fix here in the long run. Well, let's start with finding the right font. So I'm just going to try to find something that's a sans serif font. We're going to get a little bit more into that later. And something that's relatively compact, as in the letters are pretty narrow and spaced together tightly. This one looks close. I might just stick with this. Let's go ahead and make it bigger right up top here. And if I need to, I can get my regular selection tool and make my box bigger. So it's not an exact match, but for what I'm doing right now, that might be good enough. So I'm going to align that right, which I use that by highlighting my words and then clicking at the upper right part there. And now I've got my words very large. They're a little bit too big for this particular business card, so this is probably going to involve me finding yet another font instead of this one. So we're gonna fast forward through me finding the right font here, and that's, if not that exact font, something pretty close. Now, of course, when you're doing this, you don't have to use the exact font that somebody else used. I just happen to like that one, and I want to do something similar. So once I've got this lined up where I want to go, I just copied and pasted it, and now I'm doing my job title instead of General Manager, I'm doing Media Art Teacher, and I'm making that smaller. So generally speaking, on a business card, the most important information is going to be your name, which should always be bigger, bolder, and maybe a more standing out font. Anything to make it really different from everything else on the page. So I'm just going to go ahead and shrink this job title because it's not as important as my name, and it's still not quite as small as this person had theirs. I'll go ahead and just completely copy what they did. Alright, so now there's the contact information over here. Again, I'm just going to take those words I already got and copy and paste them, and I've aligned these to the left now, as you can see in the upper right corner there, and I'm going to type in my phone number, email address, and other parts of contact information. Feel free to use fake information or the school's information for this, and this information is actually even less important than the other stuff, so I could make this even smaller, which I might do, but mostly what I'm going to do is condense that font and make it so it's not taking up as much horizontal space there. Now I'm going to ignore that little phone and email icon and stuff like that, and I'm just going to make this little line that's separating between the name and job title and the contact information, and that's just as simple as getting your line tool, which is over here in the tools, and we've used strokes before. This is just going to let me make a vertical stroke. If you hold down Shift, you can make sure it's a perfectly vertical line. I turned on my stroke color, and let me go ahead and scooch this out of the way, and there's my business card that I've stolen from this person. Now basically I'm at a part where I can go in here and tweak this around and do what I think makes it look a little bit better. In this case, I changed back out of that condensed font and moved this a little bit closer. So whenever you're coming up with ideas, never get rid of anything that you've done. Make copies. Make copies of stuff, and that way you can have the original next to your new one. And you can do something as simple as what I'm doing here, which is I just used the rectangle tool, made it black, changed the transparency, and I'm just adding some rectangles in here. So what you're going to see me do over the next couple of minutes is just experiment with this. I'm going to experiment with stacking up the information in different ways. I'm going to experiment with things like changing some fonts, adding some pictures. So I might point out some stuff in here, but other than that, I've not done anything so far that you all don't know how to do. If the only thing is I might group some things. If you select multiple objects, you can hold Shift and click on things to select multiple stuff at the same time. and then just right click on them and you can say group, and that can help sometimes. I just placed an image there. You all know how to do that. I just changed the display performance to make that less pixely. Remember, that's just view display performance, putting it on high quality. So I'm just going to kind of let this roll and point things out as they come up. So far what I've done is fairly simple as far as I was just copying and pasting that Mustang, making rectangles. Now what I'm going to do is a little bit different. So I've got this frame selected. I'm going to say paste into and allow that background to go in there, and then I right clicked on it and said fill frame proportionally. Now what I'm using is the gradient fade tool, which lets me fade a picture or anything else that's in that frame from a full opacity to slightly transparent. And what this means is that when I put my information and stuff on here, the background texture won't be overly distracting from the words and things that are important on here. What I'm also going to do is grab a color from this background using that eyedropper, and that way I have a completely different feeling card now because it's on a grayish brown background instead of it being on white like pretty much all these other cards. Background images can really look nice on a business card, but it is really easy to go too far with them, so just be careful to not ever get something too distracting. Also, remember, for this project, technically you should be going to tools and making sure that your usage rights are not on things that people have, copyright on. So in this case, I changed it to that Creative Commons license, and now finding a picture that'll work for this. Just want to grab something completely different here. So let's go ahead and make myself a new business card. I'm going to say paste into again, right click on it, go to fitting, say fill frame proportionally, and now I've got a totally different looking business card here. I'm going to make that little gradient fade work for this. I still want to mess with that some. And now let's take my information, copy and paste it over here, make this a totally different card for a party planner. Obviously this font does not say party planner, let's find something that does, and maybe we'll change up the color by